Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3579. Today's date is September 8, 2025. It's been almost like a night at 10 p.m. Exactly 10:02 p.m. All right, let's just jump directly to the question. Let's go. Okay, question is, what are the effective way to keep the customer coming back? Okay. Okay, what exactly is this question? Okay, this actually question is actually about business and startup. More specifically, this question is actually specifically about customer services. Customer services is a part of the business and startup and things like that. Why am I asking this question to myself? Um, I'm actually asking this question to myself because I wanted to do a business startup, and I wanted to know about what exactly the how do I supposed to do the business and startup. I haven't really done any kind of like a graduation, haven't really did any kind of like a MBA, nothing really at all. So that's why I'm actually asking this question, so that I would understand what is actually meaning of being business and startup and things like that, and I would aware about what would I supposed to do when the situation came along. All right. Okay. So question is that key, what are the effective way to get your customer coming back? So what exactly it means? It means that na ki you are actually making sure that ki your customer will gonna came back. And how is this actually happen? How is this actually happen? A kind of like a somebody simple way. Okay. It's just like that. It's just like sometimes na like basically it's saying that ki just like how do you like what is actually effective way to get your customer coming back? A kind of like a maintain the relationship, right? Like example is this thing, like you have a friend, okay, yeah, and you are in college and you are like a stay in touch always, like a basically is this thing that key when you and your friend when you are in college, you both are in college, your friendship is really amazing, really great and things like that. You just you just experience the entire new life with that particular person. Now after the graduation, your friend went to Delhi, you went to Bombay, then probably because of this happened, then the difference is actually happened. Difference means like that ki we don't really have any reason to talk and things like that. Before that we have college, we have reason to talk, but because of we are actually very much far away, we don't really have any reason to talk. But in both their mindset, they actually respect each other. So how do I supposed to kind of like a something like that, how do I supposed to kind of like a somebody like a show that genuine care and things like that? Call once in a week, things like that. Tell him regarding about what exactly happened, things and that, वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. Okay, this might be a kind of like a something way that you would connect, okay, and you would kind of like a share your thoughts and things like that. This is what exactly happened in the business too. Okay, yeah. But in the business, things went little bit kind of like a somebody very much practical point of perspective. It means that na ki let's just say you are kind of like a something. Let's just say I am the marketing executive of Flipkart. Okay, Flipkart is a e-commerce website in India, and how do I supposed to be kind of like a something uh, make the kind of like a effective way to kind of like a get the customer, like basically how do I supposed to make my customer come back again? I have to do kind of like a different techniques and strategy. Okay, first of all is that ki when they kind of like a login through application, I would know that ki where when they have birthday or things like that. So whenever they have birthday, my like a basically Flipkart will gonna kind of like a somebody send some sort of kind of like a somebody email to them that ki happy birthday this person, and you are like a really valuable person and things and that. Okay, yeah, it's a very cold email, but probably it's kind of like a something very helpful that key. It kind of like a somebody as a customer might not read or read whatever it is, but like basically that customer might feel that key special. Okay, yeah, so this is something I would gonna do. um um Mostly the way that communication happen, not too much, like basically I would not kind of like a somebody send too many emails every single day, no. um I also went through kind of like a something loyal customer, like basically the customer who actually buy a product from my website. Okay, yeah, so I would kind of like simply give them particular discount and offer and things like that, which would be also really good. Another thing is that key, if there is a kind of like a something the opinion really required. Okay, like let's just say that key, which product is kind of like a really good, this product or this product, I need a kind of like a somebody opinion. So I would kind of like a somebody send like an email to them that key, what is actually your preference regarding about product, is this product better or this product better. Like basically I'm trying to communicate with those, like not just kind of like a simply a phone call communication, no, just email or notification through. Not too much, but just once in a week or things like that. So it kind of like a feel little bit of connected. Another thing is that key, when the customer have a little bit problem, um, as a customer executive, like basically I am the marketing executive, so probably I would kind of like treat them as a guest. Okay, yeah, I would kind of like call them by their name. Okay, yeah, I will have kind of like an entire history regarding about what kind of like a problem they face in the previous, and how do I supposed to solve and things like that. Okay, yeah, so this is a kind of like a simply way that I would kind of like a simply get little bit of kind of like a something customer feedback, get effective way to kind of like get my customer back. Okay, like basically try to talk and try to be okay, yeah, this is a kind of like a some way to do that thing. Okay, yeah, now for me, I am I kind of like a running any kind of like a e-commerce website? No. Do I want to kind of like a simply do any kind of like e-commerce website? No. Then is this customer services is actually matter to you? Well, yes. Okay, how? Well, probably is this thing na ki if I'm gonna say customer service means like that, it's not meant to be the customer who actually kind of like a buying some sort of product or things like that. Okay, yeah. Sometimes customer is such a people who are kind of like utilizing your services. Okay, yeah. I would not call them as a customer, I would call them as a user. Okay, yeah, because they are actually using my application. My application is a kind of like an artifact. I previously mentioned multiple times, but still my application is a kind of like a something people would kind of like a record the artifact. It means that ki, like a people would kind of like a wrote the diary every single day. This is what exactly is it. Instead of writing, it converted into the recording. Okay, instead of writing, just they will kind of like a record. Okay, in audio format. My application is kind of like a YouTube. Okay, like people would kind of like a simply make the video, upload the video, other people will gonna watch the video. Same thing happened, like people will kind of like record the artifact, upload the artifact in my platform, other people will gonna listen their artifact. Okay, yeah. There is a one catch is that ki privacy means like that ki the person who kind of like listening your artifact, they will not gonna know who you are. Okay, and as well as when the kind of like when the user will kind of like recording the artifact, at the spur of the moment he mentions some sort of name, my application is actually powered by artificial intelligence, with kind of like a simply add a beep over there or kind of like a mute that particular segment where you kind of like a make little bit of share some sort of detail or things like that, because privacy is somewhat really essential. Now regarding about the question is that okay, what is actually effective way to get my user back? It depend on ki how is exactly you are catering your user, how is exactly you are kind of like a simply like services, what kind of like a services that you are providing. Okay, yeah. Services means like that ki does the user feel really good or not. Example, that ki whenever I open the YouTube, I found so many videos that kind of like a relevant for me. Okay, yeah, kind of like a world history, world war, music, photography, graphic designing. These are kind of like some video that YouTube recommend, and I love that and I watch that. So basically, this is kind of like a simply the user experience about my experience is became really good. Okay, yeah, this is actually happened when YouTube knows that hey, what is exactly my choices because of the what kind of like a simply video that I watched in a previously. Okay, yeah. So same thing that I would gonna do. Okay, yeah, that he the what kind of like some people they are. I also understand what kind of like some artifact they listen. I would kind of like somebody recommend those artifact to them, that ki what exactly they like and stuff like that. Okay, so this is the way that kind of like some people will kind of like simply use my application and kind of like simply deliver as best service as I could possible. So if I could do this thing, this is kind of like a simply effective way to get my user kind of like a simply back or things like that. Okay, but still it is also kind of like a simply essential that key competition. Okay, yeah, like let me tell you one thing, in e-commerce website, as a Flipkart is a e-commerce website, then Amazon is also e-commerce website too. There is also another e-commerce website like a Meesho, then uh, Meesho, then another like a Swiggy, yeah, is it Swiggy now? Swiggy is a food delivery application. Multiple application, by the way, there are so many e-commerce website. Okay, so there is always a kind of like a problem regarding about which one should you supposed to choose and things like that. I have little bit of advantage in my application is that ki, there is no competition like till now in 2025 there is no one is actually making this application. No one is actually have that kind of like some idea. No one is kind of like doing it that way. By the way, there is a kind of like application kind of like a doing similar kind of like a stuff that is called Clubhouse. Clubhouse is a kind of like a very much different. Clubhouse is a kind of like assembly people who kind of like assembly in Zoom call meeting kind of like that. People will kind of like a talk and things like that. It's a very different thing. Okay, yeah. My application is kind of like assembly different, but kind of like assembly for my application, there is no kind of like assembly competition. But still, it doesn't mean that the user experience would be kind of like something really not that good. Okay, yeah. But one of the kind of like some crown jewel of my application is that recording artifact. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki I don't know, I haven't really listened my artifact or things like that. Okay, yeah. But one of the best experience of the artifact is that while you recording the artifact, like basically when you record the artifact, it felt really good. It felt something really that ki this kind of like a simply feeling that you haven't really get anywhere at all. Okay, yeah, like basically is this thing na ki the way that you sharing your thoughts and things like that, it felt really amazing. It felt like wow, it felt like I don't know how do I supposed to explain. Okay, yeah, this is kind of like a some experience. This is the kind of like a some feel only, like this is the kind of like a some feel that you feel when you kind of like a do the thing, when you kind of like a some experience that thing. This is what exactly is it. Okay, so so basically is this thing na ki I would ask kind of like such a question to the user, so that user are kind of like a love to talk and things like that. So I would choose a kind of like a specific kind of like a question, like basically like right now in this artifact, like this is also artifact, and I kind of like suddenly ask kind of like a question regarding about the business and studies, because I wanted to know about this particular stuff and things like that. Okay, yeah, but not everyone will gonna resonate with this artifact, because like basically it's a very associated with the business and startup and things like that. Okay, it's not associated with the kind of like somebody a random user who no nothing really at all. So this is what it is. So I'm gonna choose such a topic that not only the user will love to record, but as well as kind of like somebody other user will love to listen their recording. Okay, so I would choose that particular topic and things like that. But also I'm gonna make sure that when the people will gonna record the artifact, they feel something really good. They get a little bit of value from whatever they are kind of like saying. Like let me tell you one thing, when I'm kind of like talking about this topic regarding about business and studies, so I understand more regarding about this particular topic, and I kind of like explore more and things like that. Okay, yeah. So I get values from that thing. All right, yeah. So this is what kind of like something I'm offering to. Okay, yeah. I'm kind of like try to make a balance between the what does kind of like some user will love to listen, as well as kind of like some user will love to record, but as well as kind of like somebody they are also getting some sort of value to the people who actually record the artifact, to the people who actually listen the artifact, for those people. So I would kind of like only figure it out what kind of like question should they supposed to be asked and things like that. Okay, yeah. So this is what it is, but it is also kind of like try to understand that if the user is kind of like somebody listening the such an artifact regarding about only the economics and things like that, then probably I would ask kind of like a question associated with the economics and things like that, so that that particular person will kind of like somebody know even more about the economics. So this is what it is. Okay, yeah. Every artifact or every person is kind of like something very different things like that. I know our thought process is kind of like something very much different, and I wanted to kind of like simply make that thought process is as much better, not only to the user who actually recording the artifact, but for the kind of like simply people who kind of like listening that artifact to. Okay, yeah. So if I do this thing, this is a kind of like simply one of the effective way to kind of like simply get back my customer. Okay, there is also another thing that I wanted to mention. Okay, right now, like basically is this thing, we have mobile phone, we have smartphone, and we can browse internet, we can call, we can send SMS and things like that. But mostly we can't do that thing. Like basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing na ki usually is this thing that because of since the internet revolution happened and things and that, the people are kind of like simply trying talk with other people little less. Okay, yeah. And this is what kind of like simply happened. Okay, yeah. And it will gonna happen even more too. So because of right now people are kind of like simply really alone, like they wanted to kind of like share some sort of thoughts and things and that, but they don't really have any kind of like a simply person. I know there are so many person that actually exist that they don't really have anyone to talk. Like basically this thing, they do talk with the people, but kind of like a somebody talk about kind of like a somebody just a casual conversation, like a have you eat, good morning, do your stuff, that's it. Okay, yeah. A deep conversation is kind of like a somebody happened with a kind of like a somebody only with a significant other, and rest of the people don't really have any kind of like a conversation. Like basically is this thing the way that we have opportunity to share our thoughts and things like that 50 year ago, right now we don't really have that. Okay, yeah. But my application, my artifact is actually giving them that opportunity, that people would kind of like simply share their thoughts and things like that. So if and this is kind of like simply one of the, I don't know, I'm actually recording the artifact for almost like a 10 year. Okay, yeah. And basically you can think like that ki, like basically I like basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing na ki it's a kind of like a simply obvious thought process that ki if you are kind of like a simply person who kind of like a simply record the artifact, try to talk like blah 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 stuff and stuff like that, so in reality you will kind of like a talk very less to the people. That is definitely not. Like basically is this thing na ki whatever the speak that you speak, like whatever the kind of like a stuff that we kind of like a say is not depend on quota, it's not depend on kind of like a somebody how much we talk, and then after that I will not gonna talk. No, it's not really that. Sometimes it's depend upon the person who is kind of like hearing things or not. Like let me tell you one thing now, if the person is kind of like somebody really kind of like a person who's kind of like a really genuinely concerned about me and things like that, and he wanted to know about me and stuff like that, so I would kind of like a share, I would kind of like a talk, I would kind of like a simply share my thought process and things like that. Okay, but if I didn't really found that particular person, then why would I supposed to be share my thoughts and things like that? This is what exactly is it. Okay, yeah. Because like a 50 year ago, there are a lot of people, like basically there is no kind of like a internet, there is nothing really at all, so people would kind of like share their thoughts and things like that. But right now the internet happened and things like that, we just not okay, we just not. But I also realized that ki communication is a kind of like it's only one of the biggest essential skills are really required. Like it's one of the important thing. Okay, so so I think that na ki my application would kind of like a simply fill that particular gap. Okay, it's not depend upon that ki if you record the artifact, then probably you would not gonna talk with the rest of the people. Nothing really at all. Like basically, is this thing na ki I'm recording artifact for last 10 year, and it doesn't like I am kind of like a somebody person who is kind of like a somebody talk very less. Okay, this is kind of like a somebody, I'm kind of my father is a very calm person, and I am also very calm person too. Okay, but what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki I didn't really kind of like experience such a thing that ki I would kind of like somebody talk less or things like that. No, whenever I will have kind of like a somebody opportunity, or whenever I have kind of like a somebody time to talk, I definitely talk. I definitely kind of like express my things and stuff like that. So it's not depend upon the like a basically. And as also, let me tell you one thing now, in your entire day you are spending almost like a half an hour in the artifact. Okay, just half an hour, and rest of the time means like that ki 23 hour half 23, like basically rest of the 24 hour 23 hour you have time to kind of like a talk with others and things like that. Okay, so it's not depend upon kind of like somebody the people who kind of like record the artifact and they will not gonna record the artifact. No, nothing at all. Okay, the genuine conversation actually happened with the people that we kind of like a kind of like a matter most. Okay, that is what kind of like assembly reality that we are living. But what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that came, does it kind of like assembly make a bad impact on them like a base? I don't really think that it's a kind of like assembly is this thing na ki, let me tell you one thing. Okay, ki basically is this thing na ki we are kind of like a sorry person, we interact with the others a lot in our entire lifetime. We actually interact with others, but there is only one person which is actually with you for entire period of lifetime, and we haven't really talked with that particular person, and that person is you. Okay, artifact is kind of like a somebody connect with you, connect with kind of like a somebody what is exactly you, what is exactly like basically it's kind of like somebody connect with you, and that is somewhat something that matter. Okay, it's not selfish, it's not kind of like somebody thinking about themselves, but it's kind of like somebody matter. Like let me tell you one thing now, most of the people don't really know what they want to become. Why? Because they don't really experience about themselves or things like that. Sometimes now, like let me tell you one thing now, when you talk with ourselves, like when you talk with yourself, probably at the first time it kind of like feel really awkward and things like that. But when you are kind of like simply understand yourself, you understand yourself, like basically when you talk you understand yourself, what is actually your limitation, what is actually your like a basically advantage, what is actually you are kind of like really good at or bad at. This is what kind of like somebody you are connect with yourself. It's not kind of like somebody selfish or things like that. No, it's not. But it's kind of like somebody you understand yourself much better, and you will gonna take very wise decision for yourself that what is actually that you want in your life. Like basically you will kind of like a found little bit kind of like a purpose in your life. Yeah, basically I'm kind of like somebody using very bold languages right now, but this is what it is, dude. Okay, like basically I went through really horrible situation. I don't know, I'm kind of like telling my situation. You already knew what exactly I've been through and everything. Okay, so probably is this thing na ki like because of this artifact I never really became the person that I want to become. Like basically if I didn't really record the artifact, then probably I would never gonna live like let me tell you one thing na ki like I'm not really good in education, my I'm not really good in anything at all. Okay, and basically is this thing na ki if I'm not recording, like let me kind of like give my perspective. Okay, after I 10th, after I kind of complete my 12th standard. Okay, I had almost like a 49.49 percentage. Okay, which is very low, as well as I am not able to go into the engineering college, so I went to the engineering diploma. Okay, engineering diploma took me 6 year to complete engineering diploma, which kind of like really required only 2 year because I complete the 12th standard. So basically I directly went to the second year. So for the engineer, if I want to complete the engineering diploma, it really required me just a 2 year, like a second year and final year, that's it. but it took me 5 year. It took me 5 year, 5 to 6 year to complete my engineering diploma. So basically, is this thing na ki I was kind of like a simply like if I'm not recording artifact at that period of time, so I was kind of like a simply being really hopeless, being kind of like a things that I would not gonna do. I would like basically now I have kind of like a simply like basically this thing at that time I was kind of like a thinking that ki I don't really have any kind of like a simply opportunity to live my life, and I would kind of like end my life because I'm not really good at that. Nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. Because of the artifact, I understand myself that I love filmmaking. Because of the artifact, I understand that I have to be do those things. Because of the artifact, I understand that friendship is matter. Because of the artifact, it kind of like a changed my life. It just yeah. Okay. And basically I did it by myself. Okay. And I'm not kind of like exaggerate everything to you and things like that. No, nothing at all. If you don't want to believe me, nothing, it's just whatever it is. Okay, yeah. But it kind of like a something, it add value in my life, dude. It definitely add value in my life. So basically this thing na ki if I feel that particular change inside of me, definitely it will gonna change inside of you too. Okay. And whatever I kind of like went through entire experience of this artifact and things like that, I would kind of like somebody share that experience, not in kind of like somebody in word format, but in as well as in action. Okay, like basically is this thing that ki when I started recording artifact, I usually talk about what is actually happening in my day and things like that. That artifact went really boring, but since I kind of like asking question to myself, then each artifact became really very interesting, and I would understand myself. I would get knowledge and value through artifact, which is really great. Okay. And basically the way that you are kind of like listening me in English is also because of the artifact. Okay. Because I try to kind of like simply try to learn English by myself in the at the beginning. I make a lot of mistake while I kind of like speaking in English, but right now I'm literally fluent. I still make little bit of grammatical mistake or still make kind of like a things little bit mistake, but I share my thought process to you and you understand what more that you want. Okay. So this is what it is, dude. Okay, yeah. It's just like that na ki I don't really have any kind of like a credible evidence that told you that I will gonna tell you that ki I did this thing, I did that. It's a kind of like some instinct. It's kind of like a things that ki you feel that you are getting something. And this is what kind of like a somebody that I get something when I record the artifact. And this is what I'm trying to tell you, that if when you record this artifact, you feel something good inside of you. And I think that okay, yeah. So I don't know, probably is this thing. So regarding about kind of like a simply what is actually effective way to get back your customer or user, I think that na ki what is actually that you are actually offering the user experience. Okay, yeah. In every possible way, regarding about the feedback, regarding about giving the offer, regarding about kind of like a somebody maintain the relationship, or regarding about kind of like a somebody unique in you, unique in itself. This is kind of like a somebody way to kind of like a somebody make the kind of like a somebody establish the connection with the customer and user and things like that. All right. All right, this is the way I should supposed to be end here. Like I feel really good that like as I mentioned, I feel really good when I record half an hour of artifact. It just felt really good. Yeah. Whatever. This is it. I should supposed to be end here, and thank you.